During a high-stakes family feud showdown, Steve Harvey faced a question that revealed a shocking family secret. What happened next would not only break the internet, but also ignite a feud larger than anyone could ever imagine. In a bustling studio filled with laughter and anticipation, Steve stood ready to guide the audience through another thrilling episode. The lights flashed, the audience cheered, and the contestants prepared for a showdown that would take them to the brink. In the heart of Houston, Texas, the Ramirez family squared off against the Johnsons, each clan radiating confidence and a competitive spirit. Clara Ramirez, a fiery single mother of three, had a reputation for her quick wit. Her brother Luis and cousin Mia were by her side, ready to back her up. Meanwhile, the Johnson family, led by the charming but competitive Derek, had come prepared with their own strategies. As the game unfolded, tension simmered beneath the surface, each family desperate to claim victory. The families answered questions about everything from favorite foods to dream vacations, but it was when Steve asked the final question that things took a turn. "Name something you would find in a relative's closet that would shock you," he announced. Clara's eyes widened as she locked eyes with her estranged aunt, Rosa, sitting in the audience. Clara had not spoken to her in years, and the mention of secrets lingered in the air like a thunderstorm. I'll say old love letters," Clara blurted out nervously, unaware that Rosa had kept a box of love letters from Clara's father, whom he had never mentioned to the family. The audience gasped and Steve's eyebrows shot up, surprised by the unexpected connection. "Old love letters?" he questioned, a smirk forming on his face. "Okay, let's see if it's up there. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your comment. And there's something very important. Click the hype button. This helps a lot to deliver this content to more people. It's quick, but it makes all the difference. As the answers revealed themselves, the audience erupted in laughter and surprise. The number one answer, however, was hidden family secrets. Clara's heart sank. How had they known? A tense silence enveloped the studio, while Steve's eyes darted across the contestants and the audience, sensing the brewing storm. The revelation struck a nerve that went deep into the roots of the Ramirez family, and it was clear that the game night chatter was about to evolve into a much more personal confrontation. After the show wrapped, amidst the claps and cheers, Clara and her family found themselves in the green room, still buzzing from the chaotic moment. "Did they really just air our dirty laundry like that?" Luis asked, shaking his head in disbelief. "I can't believe they brought up the secrets." "Mia, we need to confront Rosa," Clara said, her voice steady, yet filled with underlying tension. "This is the moment we've all been avoiding for too long. I can't let this go unresolved." The candlelight of the room mimicked the emotions swirling inside her, a mix of determination and fear. It was a pivotal moment, and she knew she had to face not only the family secrets, but also the painful distance that had grown between them. That night, filled with conflicting emotions, Clara made her way to her childhood home. The trees lining the street stood tall like guardians of the past. Memories rushed back, her father's laugh, the warmth of family gatherings, but they were overshadowed by the silence that now defined their relationships. Unable to shake off the weight of the revelation and the unease that followed it, Clara decided it was time to finally confront her aunt. She stepped onto the porch, her heart pounding with anxiety, ready to face whatever storm awaited her. As Clara approached the front door of her childhood home, a mixture of nostalgia and dread washed over her. The old oak tree stood sentinel in the yard, its branches stirring gently in the evening breeze, whispering secrets she had long tried to forget. She hesitated for a moment, the weight of what had just unfolded on the show hanging heavy on her shoulders. But the urgency of confronting her Aunt Rosa's long-buried secrets propelled her forward. She knocked lightly, the sound echoing like a drumbeat in her chest. Clara's mind was racing with the possibilities of how this confrontation might unfold. Would her aunt be defensive, willing to listen? Before she could spiral further into anxiety, the door creaked open, revealing Rosa. Clara's heart sank at the sight of her aunt's weary expression, a telltale sign of the tension that had been boiling beneath the surface for years. "Clara," Rosa said, her voice carrying a mixture of surprise and reluctance. "I wasn't expecting you." "Can we talk?" Clara asked, stepping inside without waiting for confirmation. The familiar scent of the house enveloped her, a blend of warm spices and old wood, yet it felt foreign now. Rosa closed the door softly, her posture tense. "I saw you on the show. That was quite a moment." Despite the lightness in Rosa's tone, Clara could sense the deeper currents of emotion swirling beneath. "It was," she said, swallowing hard. "But that's not why I'm here. We need to talk about the family secrets that came out." Rosa's expression shifted, the weariness morphing into something sharper, more defensive. "Some things are better left unsaid, Clara. Those secrets are painful for a reason." "But they're causing a rift in our family," Clara argued, her voice rising with the frustration she had bottled up. "I can't stand the silence any longer. We need to face this together." "Together?" Rosa scoffed, crossing her arms. "You think we can just sit down and resolve this over tea? You don't understand what's at stake." "Then help me understand," Clara shot back, her eyes glimmering with desperation. "You're my family, and I refuse to let this divide us further. I'm not asking for a perfect answer. I just want to know why we've been pushed apart." Rosa's face softened slightly, but the walls she had built over the years were still palpable. "It's complicated, Clara. Family isn't always sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes it's just messy." As they stood in the dimly lit living room, Clara could feel the tension thickening the air around them. The walls, once a source of comfort, now felt like barriers. Clara took a deep breath, shifting her approach. "What if we start with the truth? The truth can be messy, I get that, but it's better than living in the shadows." Rosa sighed, her defenses lowering slightly. "Your mother chose not to talk about those things for a reason. It's because she wanted to protect you." "But what about the protection from the hurt that's already there?" Clara interjected, her heart racing as she pressed on. "What's the point of pretending everything is fine when it's clearly not?" The silence stretched between them, Rosa's internal struggle evident. "I can't just give you all the answers," she murmured, looking away out the window where shadows danced against the twilight. "Some revelations can tear a family apart." "I understand," Clara said gently. "But isn't it already torn? If we don't confront this, we might lose each other completely." After what felt like an eternity, Rosa turned to face Clara, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Fine, let's talk," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But you have to promise me that you won't run away from the truth, no matter how dark it gets." Clara nodded, feeling a surge of hope mixed with fear. This was the beginning of a journey she had long avoided, a confrontation with her family's past that would unveil painful secrets. As they settled into the worn familiar couch, Clara felt an undeniable shift in the atmosphere, a fragile bridge being built amidst the storm. The gravity of the moment settled heavily on Clara's shoulders as she took a deep breath, ready to unearth the buried truths that could either heal their family or unleash a feud that might echo for years to come. Little did she know, the journey ahead was not just about confronting Rosa, but also embracing the complexities of motherhood, loyalty, and the scars that lingered in the shadows of their love. The air in the old living room felt charged, each dust motes dancing in the fading light, as Clara prepared herself for the confrontation she'd dreaded for so long. She could see the weight of reluctant acceptance etched into Rosa's features, her mother's hands trembling slightly in her lap. Clara took a deep breath, feeling the tension weave through her body, nervous anticipation mingling with a strange sense of empowerment. "Just start talking," Clara urged gently, fearing her own hesitance would betray her. "No more hiding." Rosa's hesitation lingered in the air like a tangible force. She looked vulnerable, her usually confident demeanor cracked under the pressure of unspoken truths. "I didn't think this day would come so soon," she finally whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "But maybe it's time you knew who I really am, who we really are." The words hung heavily between them, igniting memories in Clara's mind. She recalled times spent playing catch in the backyard, laughing during family dinners, and times when Rosa had always seemed invincible. But Clara felt a haze of confusion begin to settle. If all that was true, then why did it feel as if Rosa was a stranger now? "What do you mean by that?" Clara asked, keeping her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. Rosa picked at her fingernails, a nervous habit Clara had inherited. "Your grandfather was living a double life, Clara. she said finally, her eyes locked on a framed photo on the wall that showed a happier time. He had another family before your father was born, and it's not just a rumor. The revelation struck Clara like a thunderclap, shocking her to silence. Another family, she echoed, feeling the world spin around her. Why didn't anyone ever tell me? Because we thought it was better for you not to know, Rosa replied, her voice breaking. But secrets have a way of becoming weapons, Clara. They can tear a family apart. The implications of Rosa's revelation began to unfurl, like dark clouds rolling into a clear blue sky. Clara felt anger brewing within her, but laced with confusion. So you kept this from me? Why? To protect me or to protect yourself? Rosa's eyes filled with regret. I thought I was protecting the family, but it only festered. The truth is I was scared. A part of me didn't want to face it either. Scared of what? Clara pressed, knowing she was wading into dangerous waters. What happens when it all comes out? Don't you realize that silence only breeds more problems? Rosa buried her face in her hands, stifling a sob. I know. But I worried about what it would do to you, what it could do to our family. Clara clenched her fists, feeling the weight of inherited pain settle on her heart. This is our family, Mum. It's based on trust and honesty. If we can't talk about the past, how can we move forward? As the argument escalated, the shadows in the room seemed to thicken, creaking floorboards echoing their discomfort. Clara could feel the tension building not just between them, but all around her, a generational feud simmering beneath the surface. What are you afraid will happen? Clara's voice softened as she made a desperate attempt to reach Rosa. You're not going to lose me if we face this together. Rosa looked up, her gaze filled with fear and uncertainty. What if history repeats itself? What if you walk away from me too? Clara shook her head, her heart aching for her mother. You have to trust that I won't abandon you. We need to confront this together. I need to know the whole truth, Mom. The room fell silent again, but this time it felt different. A tentative understanding began to form. Clara could sense the walls slowly crumbling between them, creating space for vulnerability and honesty. Rosa took a deep breath, her features softening as she slowly nodded. I'll tell you everything, she said, her voice steadier now. But once I do, there will be no turning back. Clara's heart raced. The stakes were high as they stood on the brink of family revelations that could reshape their lives. It was a moment of reckoning, one that would either unite them in truth or plunge them into deeper chaos. But she knew she had to be ready for whatever lay ahead. The air in the small living room was thick with expectation as Clara wrapped her arms around herself, feeling the coolness of the room seep into her skin. Her mother, Rosa, sat across from her, a mixture of fear and determination flickering in her eyes. The family portraits lining the walls, once symbols of love and unity, felt like a gallery of secrets now, each frame holding stories untold. Okay, Rosa said, her voice trembling slightly but steadier than before. I'll start from the beginning. But you need to understand this is about more than just our family, it's about your grandmother too. Clara nodded, her heart pounding like a drum. She could feel the weight of the moment, feeling as if they were standing on a precipice, peering into a chasm of their family's history. I'm ready, she replied, her words laced with a determination born from years of unasked questions. Just, please, be honest. Rosa took a deep breath, visibly steeling herself. Your grandmother, she had a life before she became the person we knew. When I was a child, she held many of her own family secrets. Secrets that, well, that affected her and ultimately us. She paused, searching for the right words. She was married before she met your grandfather. It was a disaster. He was abusive, and she was terrified. When she finally left him, she changed her name and moved here. She wanted to protect us from the past. The revelation crashed over Clara like the tide, a mix of shock and clarity. Why didn't you ever tell me? All this time I thought we had this perfect family. Rosa's face fell, guilt flooding her features. I was afraid, Clara, afraid that if you knew the truth it would change how you saw our family. I thought I could shield you from the pain of history, but it seems by keeping it hidden, I only made it worse. Clara shifted in her seat, grappling with the implications of her mother's words. But if we hadn't kept these secrets, Would we have been closer? Would it have changed how we view loyalty and trust? Rosa nodded slowly, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. I've learned that secrecy can be a cage, and the only way to break free is to acknowledge what happened. I thought I was protecting you. What happened to your first husband? Clara asked softly, the curiosity biting at her. Rosa's hands trembled as she wiped away a tear. He was not the man I thought he was. He became possessive, and after years of fear I finally found the strength to leave. But his shadow has haunted our family ever since. The room fell silent, both women grappling with the enormity of this truth. Clara knew there was more to unpack, but the awareness of shared wounds, unaddressed for so long, created a bridge between them. "Mom," Clara said, her voice low but firm, "we can't let this define us. We have to acknowledge our past, but we also need to move on. This is our chance to do better." Rosa focused on her daughter, a surge of hope blooming in her chest. "You're right. This isn't just about revealing old stories, it's about healing. We have to face our fears together, and maybe then we can break this cycle." Clara took a deep breath, feeling empowered by her mother's willingness to confront the past. "I want to hear everything, even the hard parts. I want to help you, us, confront all of it. We can work through this together." As they sat there, united in purpose for the first time in years, Clara could sense a shift in the atmosphere. The shadows that once loomed over their home began to recede, replaced by the warmth of shared honesty. She knew the journey ahead would be challenging, but for the first time, she felt they could forge a new path, one built on trust, transparency, and the promise of a future unburdened by secrets. Together, they would rewrite their family narrative, transforming it from one of fear into one of resilience. As Clara and Rosa sat together at the small dining table, the weight of their recent revelations hung like a dense fog in the air. The emotional wounds they had begun to confront were not healed yet, but the first step had been taken. Clara felt the tension in the room pulse with every heartbeat. She could sense that their conversation was just the beginning. The real test lay ahead. "Tomorrow is the family Feud taping," Clara reminded her mother, glancing at the clock on the wall. The hours until the event felt like a countdown to a monumental battle. "I know we've been through a lot today, but we can't back down now. We have to go in there ready to face our past together." Rosa nodded, her expression a mix of resolve and apprehension. "You're right, Clara. I've kept so much bottled up for years. But standing in front of that audience and answering personal questions about our family, it terrifies me." "We can handle it," Clara reassured her. "We have each other. Remember, this is our chance to show not just the world, but ourselves how far we've come. We can redefine our story." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the walls, the two women began preparing for the next day. They gathered old family photographs and memorabilia, aiming to weave their shared history into a narrative that would resonate with viewers. The act of sorting through these items felt cathartic, transforming discord into connection. "I remember this," Rosa said, picking up a faded picture of Clara as a shy child, eyes wide with curiosity at a family picnic. "You were always so adventurous. I've missed that spirit in you." Clara smiled at the memory. "Yeah, but I had to mask it for a long time. I want to reclaim that part of me. And facing our family story, the chaos, it's a part of that journey." Under the warm glow of the lamp, Clara felt the weight of their past, still looming but lighter now, as if their shared commitment to breaking free from it created a protective barrier. The two spent hours going over potential answers to the beloved game show's signature questions, each response digging deeper into their experiences and fears. Rosa's phone buzzed and her heart raced. She saw it was a message from Fred, the family patriarch, with a reminder about the show. "I can't believe he reached out," she muttered. "After everything, I didn't expect this." "Mom, this is part of it," Clara said, her heart pounding. "If he wants to be part of this now, we can't shy away. We have to be honest about our journey, even the ugly moments." Rosa took a deep breath, contemplating the possibilities. "What do you think he wants? Can we even trust him? We'll never know unless we confront it. If he's willing to share the stage with us, we have to put everything on the table. But we do it on our terms." Clara's voice was steadier than she felt inside. This was the preparation they needed, not just for the show but for their lives. As night enveloped the house, Clara and Rosa sat surrounded by the artifacts of their past, fortified by their shared purpose, but anxious about the uncertainty of what lay ahead. The tension in the air thickened, charged with emotions both old and new. Would they be able to stand up to Fred in front of the cameras? Would he derail their efforts to move forward? "Whatever happens, I won't let the fear of the past dictate our future," Clara said, the conviction in her voice ringing true. "Tomorrow we rewrite our story, Mum. Together." Rosa looked into Clara's eyes, searching for the girl she once knew, filled with dreams and laughter. In her daughter's resolve, she found a flicker of hope. "Together," she repeated softly. That night, as sleep eluded them, Clara and Rosa quietly rehearsed their lines, their voices hushed yet steady. Each word became a testament to their commitment to rebuilding their family legacy. They knew the next day might feel like battling a storm, but together they were ready to weather it. The morning dawned over the bustling set of Family Feud, and Clara felt the electric thrill of the stage beneath her feet. She glanced at her mother, Rosa, standing by her side, the two of them a united front against the ghosts of their past. Today was not just about the game. It was about unveiling truths and healing deep wounds. The audience buzzed with energy, the vibrant lights creating a warm atmosphere. But Clara's heart raced with apprehension. As they stepped into the spotlight, Fred, Clara's estranged father, stood across from them, a calculated smirk on his face. He was all charm and bravado, just like she remembered, but today Clara saw him through a different lens. She recognized the facade masking years of pain. "Are you ready for some family fun?" Steve Harvey's booming voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back to the present. The first round began. The competing families exchanged playful banter, but Clara remained hyper-aware of Fred's glances, her heart pounding with every moment. She could sense Rosa's discomfort, the way her mother fidgeted with her necklace, a lifelong habit when nervous. Clara took a deep breath, channeling all her energy into the game, answering questions with precision to maintain their lead. Yet with each Family Feud question, a silence loomed. The upcoming question was the one they feared. Finally, Steve turned to a bright board and announced, "The next question is for Fred and Clara. Name one thing you wish your family would stop arguing about." Clara felt the air escape her lungs. She exchanged a glance with Rosa. This was it. Fred leaned closer to the microphone, the sly glint in his eyes unmistakable. "I'd say my daughter's stubbornness and refusal to just move on." Rosa gasped, and Clara felt a rush of anger surge through her. "Move on? What about you, Dad?" Clara's voice rose above the laughter of the audience. "You left when I was 10. How can you talk about moving on?" The studio fell silent, tension hanging thick. Steve glanced from Clara to Fred, sensing the deep undercurrent of conflict. "Well, this just got real," he commented, attempting to lighten the mood. But for Clara, the facade had cracked wide open. The answering bell rang, and Fred smirked at the audience. "You see, Clara has never understood," he began, his tone condescending. "It was easier to leave than to deal with the chaos. And look where that chaos got us," Clara shot back, her voice steady, but her emotions flared. The moment spiraled into a heated exchange, each word aided by the audience's gasps and murmurs, a live testament to the dysfunction they were addressing. "Enough," Rosa intervened, stepping forward. "This isn't about blame anymore. It's about facing our reality." Her voice resonated with urgency, cutting through the drama. Fred raised an eyebrow, a look of disbelief etched across his features. "What do you suggest? That we all sit down and hug it out?" "We don't have to hug," Clara said, her heart pounding. "But we need to be honest. Are we really going to pretend this feud isn't deep-rooted?" Clara's words hung in the air, her resolve igniting something within the audience. A wave of murmurs followed, and the tension shifted from conflict to dialogue. The tone of the show required a pivot, and for the first time it felt like the Family Feud could blossom into something more meaningful. "It's time we talk about our truth, Dad," Clara urged, her voice softening. "Maybe we can start by acknowledging that your departure hurt us deeply. We deserve that acknowledgement." The silence felt heavy, the stage lights glimmering as everyone waited. Fred looked at Clara, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his face. I was running from my problems, not you, he stumbled, voice cracking. Then let's face them together, Rosa interjected, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. As Clara looked into her mother's eyes, she saw something she hadn't noticed before, a willingness to face the past collectively. A pact, a reckoning in front of a live audience. In that moment, the line between television theatrics and genuine emotion blurred. The realization struck Clara. They had begun to mend what had been broken, not just for the cameras but for their souls. Today, in front of America, they took the first step toward healing. The feud was far from over, but in that instant, they reclaimed their narrative. As the studio erupted into applause, Clara felt the weight lift from her shoulders. They were still broken, yes, but they were broken together, and that made all the difference. As applause filled the air, Clara felt the warmth of the moment wrap around her like a comforting blanket. The audience had witnessed a transformation, a family on the brink of reconciliation, confronting wounds that had long shaped their lives. The emotional gravity of the scene struck Clara as she realized this wasn't just performance art, it was a genuine attempt to mend broken bonds. In the following days, the aftermath of the show reverberated through social media, news outlets and beyond. Clara and her family became instant sensations, their raw honesty sparking discussions across the nation about familial relationships and healing. Clara wasn't just a participant in a game show anymore. She was a voice for those carrying similar burdens. Everywhere she went, strangers approached her with kindness. "Your family's story touched my heart," they would say, sharing their own struggles with family ties. It struck Clara how many people kept secrets, how many families bore the weight of unspoken truths. This newfound attention illuminated the significance of vulnerability, urging her to inquire deeper. However, the rush of newfound fame didn't come without its challenges. Fred, her father, began to spiral under the spotlight. What felt like a moment of clarity on stage morphed into pressures of public scrutiny. "Why do they want to know about our lives?" "It's too much, Clara," he confessed one evening at the kitchen table, his voice laced with panic. Clara watched the man she once saw as a pillar of strength crumble under scrutiny. "Dad, we might not be perfect, but our story is worth sharing," she reminded him gently, pushing the boundaries of their newfound openness. "Maybe this is our chance to do something meaningful." Fred nodded, though his eyes reflected uncertainty. Slowly he began to engage in family meetings, often at the kitchen table where they shared meals, memories, and laughter. Clara took the lead in organizing their discussions, transforming the kitchen into a safe space for dialogue. The walls of their home, once echoing with silence, became filled with words, honest, heartfelt conversations about their past. Meanwhile, on social media, Clara saw the ripple effects. Posts blossomed around family healing, with thousands sharing their own stories of strife and reconciliation. Clara felt a sense of responsibility grow. Her voice was not just her own anymore. She created a video series, inviting families to share their experiences and focusing on navigating through fraught relationships. The series struck a chord, leading to collaborations with therapists and family counselors, emphasizing the importance of communication. Then, weeks after their episode aired, an unexpected visitor knocked on their door. It was Rosa's sister, Mary, who had been estranged for years. Clara watched as her mother hesitated before opening the door, her brow furrowed in disbelief. But the moment she laid eyes on her sister, the years melted away, and a tearful embrace followed. "Maybe it's not too late for us to heal too," Mary whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Clara felt the air shift again. The feud had opened doors she never knew were closed. That evening, the family gathered for dinner with Mary. Conversations flowed more freely than before, reminiscent of laughter shared in simpler times. Clara watched her mother and aunt as they recounted childhood stories, their smiles breaking the weight of years apart. The dinner table transformed into a sanctuary. Bonds were not just mended, they were woven stronger with threads of understanding and compassion. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Clara realized they hadn't just survived their family feud, they had grown from it. Each step taken with honesty had led to light breaking through their family darkness. In that moment, Clara understood the true power of confronting one's past. It wasn't merely about striving for perfection, but rather embracing imperfection together. They would face their future, bruised and battered, but undeniably united. So, what did you think of this story? Leave your comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share with your friends, and don't forget to like. But most importantly, click the hype button. Seriously, this is crucial for the channel to grow and bring more amazing stories like this to you. It only takes a second, but it helps a lot. See you next time.